All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another Transmission Tuesday. If you're in the Indigo Instinct Healing Matrix on Facebook, it's Tuesday, which means that we're going to do another video that is all things energy and healing related, as well as tips and techniques and other beautiful things like that. Today is a bit of a different scene, as you can see, and a bit of a different energy because there has been so much coming up in the collective and with clients and through my own journey, but really I feel a lot of people are moving through this motion right now of working on stuff with their inner child. And if you don't really know what your inner child is, I've got another video on that I will post in the card up in the corner here. If you're on YouTube, and if you're in the Healing Matrix on Facebook, I will post it down below in the comments. But working with our inner child and allowing ourselves to communicate with our inner child is such an important skill and an important practice that will allow us to surprisingly heal issues and sort of blockages and sort of like clogged arteries of our spiritual journey that you would just be so surprised that, sometimes as soon as you communicate with your inner child, that issue that you've been trying to solve in a million different ways just dissipates because it more had to do with something that was more deeply embedded, and it had to do with a belief that was learned when you were young. And when we learn these beliefs or these things we believe to be true at such a young age, it really gets embedded into our foundation, and it makes it really hard to change later on. So embodying this practice of our inner child and beginning to understand how we can connect with our inner child really allows us to move through those blocks, but also recognize more quickly and more easily when it might be a situation that we do need to connect to our inner child, and then activate this practice to sort of dive into that and get into that. This is Soul, by the way, for those of you who haven't met her. She's normally the background noise that I've got going on in my videos. So the practice that we're going to do today is a grounding practice that allows you to hear the voice of your inner child. And this is something that I teach my clients in my private programs, but it's also a practice that I do by myself all the time. And I will say as a disclaimer that if you don't have a lot of practice quieting your mind, this will be helpful. It'll be helpful to do this practice with a guided meditation or after you have done a guided meditation, because being able to be in a position of receptivity where you're listening is very, very important. And if you try to do this practice and your mind is just going wild the entire time, it's going to be really frustrating and you're not going to achieve the results that you're looking for. So this practice, the reason we're in my room tonight and the reason I'm sitting on the ground is because I'm going to demonstrate it on the floor. And I'm not going to do this in the video, but if you want to pull your comforter off your bed or use some blankets, this practice is done on the ground. And if you're in a warm climate or you're living somewhere where it's summertime and you can be outside, it's also great to do this practice outside. But giving yourself that sort of nest of comfort is really, really important to be able to allow yourself to feel safe, to be able to really access that voice of your inner child. So creating a nest is step one, because we are going to perform this practice on the floor. And then once you have your nest and once you've sort of created a situation that's going to be comfortable for you to lie on the ground in, we are going to be lying on our stomach. So if you have mobility issues or health issues, use pillows, use whatever you need to be comfortable, to be able to lie on the ground. And you can use a pillow under your head, but we are going to be putting our ears to the floor and being able to, the more connected you can be with your ear to the floor, the better. Although if you want to use a pillow for comfort, that's totally cool. So, yes, hello. What we're going to do in this practice is start by lying down on the floor. And all we're going to do, just to start, and I often do this with a timer because I find that can be really helpful, but the practice of this connection to our inner child is really getting quiet and getting connected and grounded to the earth so that we can hear what our inner child is saying. And often, once we begin to listen, or we begin to be able to see our inner child in the situation that they're in, we can then ask really gentle questions. You know, why are you sad? Or what are you doing? Or how are you feeling? And really, once you facilitate a connection with your inner child, it's going to be really intuitive in terms of what you want to ask and how you want to proceed. But this practice really facilitates that strong connection. So if you're somebody who doesn't meditate a lot or doesn't have a lot of practice going within, setting a timer is great. Set your timer for about 7 minutes, and we're just going to lie on the floor with our ears pressed to the floor. And I'm not going to do this for the whole practice. I'm not going to do 7 minutes of lying on the ground because I feel that you're all totally independent enough to be able to do this practice outside of this video, but I am going to walk you through it step by step. So we're going to begin by just putting our ears to the ground and imagining that I have my timer set for 7 minutes. Or if I'm somebody that's comfortable going within and I'm used to listening to myself and feeling my energetic body and feeling my inner body, then don't worry about setting a timer. And all we're doing in this practice of lying on the floor, is allowing ourselves to really feel the support of the ground, allowing ourselves to really feel being held by the earth, being children of the earth and being held by the ground and supported by the ground, as well as listening. We're listening to the heartbeat of the earth. We may hear sounds of the house that we live in, or you may hear the subtle sounds of the earth if you're outside. But all we're doing in this moment is reconnecting to the earth's center. And this facilitates a connection to our inner selves much more rapidly than you would think. And once you feel really calm and really centered and you feel like you're really in it, in this practice, or once your 7-minute timer has gone off, and if you are using a timer, it's good to keep your phone at least close enough that you don't really have to get up to turn it off, because you want to do this without disturbing yourself as much as possible. But once you feel like you're really connected, ask your inner self if you can meet your inner child, or if you can be shown your inner child. And then be receptive to what comes up. I'm a very audio-visual person, so I often see my inner child. I see her playing, I see her sitting down, I see how she's feeling. But some of you might experience this all as a feeling. You might feel like you're feeling what your inner child is experiencing, or maybe you just hear your inner child's voice. But this is your moment of connection where you ask to be introduced to your inner child, to say hello to your inner child, and to really assess what's going on with them. And then once you feel like you have met them, or you have met them where they're at this moment, and you've facilitated this connection, begin to see if you can get to the center of your inner child's feelings. Ask them constructive questions as if they're just a child that you were taking care of on a regular basis. Why are you feeling sad? Or why are you feeling frustrated? What are you afraid of? Sometimes it takes a little more practice and a few more steps. Like, sometimes I see my inner child sitting on the sidelines and not playing, and I ask her, why don't you feel like playing? And then being really gentle and really present as you move through these questions and you listen to the answers. And as you continue to ask your inner child these questions, be receptive in your body and in your heart of the answers. Because eventually, through this practice, you will get to the center of what is going on. Maybe there's a sense of inadequacy or of shame that you didn't realize you were harboring. Maybe you're feeling disappointed in yourself, or you're feeling rejected by somebody. Children don't usually lie. And your inner child especially is not going to lie to you. So if you can have the patience to continue to ask the questions until you get all the way to the center, you could experience quite a significant breakthrough with something that you have been trying to work through on the surface. And just continue to breathe. And the key word here in this practice is receptivity. Allowing to feel what your inner child is feeling as a wave, something that'll ripple through you but then pass. And being open and receptive to what messages your inner child is sending you. And like I said, this is going to be a short version of this practice because I want to be mindful of your time and of the instructional nature of this video. But if you're to do this with yourself, give yourself at least 20 minutes. If you need to set timers, set a timer for the entry. Set 10 minutes to be with your inner child, and then a 3-minute timer to exit. And once you feel like you've gotten all of the messages that your inner child feels ready to share with you,
make sure that you thank them for being honest with you and for sharing this time with you. And when you come out of this practice, come out of this meditation, be very, very gentle with yourself. Imagine that we
have pillows or we have our nest around us. Or we have our blankets, and just being really gentle as we come out of this and giving yourself time to resurface after you have been in a space of such deep connection with the earth and such deep connection with your inner self. If we think of ourselves as sort of a series of layers, or like an egg with a series of shells of sorts, or an onion, our inner child is really our center, and it can kind of act as our oracle for answers if we give ourselves the opportunity to be vulnerable and safe enough, as well as receptive enough to hear the answers and hear the commentary or the cries of our inner child. So that is our practice for today. That is our mini instruction for our Transmission Tuesday. Please leave me a comment below if you're going to try this, or if you did try it and how it went. If you're on YouTube, I would love feedback, or don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you're in the Healing Matrix, again, as always, I really appreciate your participation in this group. This is a very special soul family, and I thank you all so much for your presence in these videos. And until next week, blessings.